What's happening, gang? You are live back in the Secret Stash. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, Real Talk Radio San Diego, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group, helping folks get into and out of homes right here in the heart of San Diego. You want to go check us out at thegreenhousegroupinc.com for videos. Some of the craziest videos you've ever seen actually are on that site. Embarrassing, I might say, but tell a good story. Tell a good story. You bet they do. Which is also something that I feel like we probably do better than most folks in this capacity, is tell a great story. We want to tell your story of getting into a home, or tell a great story of how to get you out of that home to a potential buyer. That's how we move people with purpose. So hanging out with Antonio Maldonado in the Secret Stash today, Maldonado Law Group, talking about cross-border businesses. And specifically, we got into the whole concept about, outsourcing.
Yeah.
One of the 3 rules, I think, is what you kind of broke down for us. There's definitely some rules, probably 30 rules, but so thanks for truncating that down to about 3. We got into the weeds of real estate. I had a great time talking about that because there's so many myths that people have about that are probably keeping them planted stateside, when the truth is, if they figured those things out by talking to someone like yourself and getting clear about that, they would probably be one of the expats who have now retired down to Mexico. And I heard you say earlier, is one of the largest...
expat communities in the world.
Communities in the world.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
love that thought. And so you got to get some clarity around that stuff, though, because if you don't have somebody like Antonio helping you through that, there's not even real estate contracts, gang, and none of that stuff's binding. So got to make sure you got good help. Now, I set it up before the break, Antonio. I said, there's one thing that if you're in this conversation on either side of the border, either Mexico looking to stateside looking back down south, cross-border business, that you got to know. Right. Okay, the one secret, you might say. What is that secret?
Well, it really is a secret, and that secret is don't assume. Don't assume it's going to be exactly the same as what you are accustomed to, as to what you know, because the rules are different here in the U.S. than what they are in Mexico, and just the same, they are different in Mexico than what they are here in the U.S. And so don't assume that you know what the process is, or what the requirements are, or how things will happen. So that find out what those rules are, find out what the differences are, maybe get advice from someone who knows, but don't assume. I think that is the greatest secret.
Yeah, and I love that thought because it's so simple, but it's also it seeps its way into almost every facet of that, because in any situation, you've got blind spots, and you can imagine, we were talking about this earlier, how challenging it is just to be able to master doing business in the place that you've grown up and lived your whole life. True. Don't assume to think that the same rules apply just because it's only a stone's throw, 5, 10, 15 miles down south, that the same rules apply.
That's right.
And there's a lot of moving parts in that. That's why you got to go check out, by the way, Antonio Maldonado at maldonado-law-group.com. Now, one thing that it was kind of new to me, even though I heard you say it was been around for 20 years. What's the EB-5?
Well, the EB-5 is an employment-based Category 5 that's set up for foreign citizens, foreign nationals that want to get permanent residence here in the U.S. And so what they do is they invest money, they create jobs, and if those jobs and that money, it's still around for a 2-year period, what they get is permanent residence. At the very outset, when they invest the money and they create those 10 jobs, they do get temporary. It's a permanent residence, but it's conditional. It's conditional for a 2-year period, and you have to remove those conditions at the end of the 2-year period. And if you don't, then that's it for that temporary conditional permanent residence.
And that is the green card.
It's a green card.
Yeah.
It is. That's right. And you there are other ways to get a green card. It could be through family. It could be through employment. But another way is through investment. And so there are some other ways to invest money in the U.S. and get the right to be here in the U.S. Like, for instance, with an E2 investor visa. Maybe if you are an executive for a foreign company that's also doing business here in the U.S., then maybe with an L1 you can become you can transfer from that foreign company or the foreign branch of the company into the U.S. So you can direct the business from here. So there are different types of ways in which you can do that, but definitely EB-5 is for investors, and the threshold investment is $500,000 when it's a high unemployment area, or it's a targeted employment area as defined by USCIS. That's a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. But if it's not that, then it's $1 million and 10 full-time jobs, and you have to keep that for at least 2 years in order to get permanent residence.
And man, my head's spinning with all the alphabet soup, EB-5, E2, 500 million, all that stuff. And so I could imagine that, my friend, that's why you've got job security, right? So if you're in that space right now and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I need some clarity around making sure that my blind spots don't end up biting me in the you-know-where, right? It's a great opportunity. Antonio actually has something very special for you. If you mention the secret stash, you might call this his stash giveaway. He's going to offer up a consultation. It's a 1-hour consultation.
Right.
And it's for $150.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So say more about that.
And we will credit that $150 towards any services that we give after that initial consultation. And we're doing that just because of you, Jesse. Usually I charge $350 an hour, and so they would have to pay that for 1 hour of my time. So.
Well, and I appreciate you the same as I know that Stash Nation appreciates you right now. So you want to get opportunity for that $200 off for that 1-hour consultation for only $150 to get clear and make sure that you don't go into this blindly. Okay, there's so many moving parts. You want to reach out to Antonio Maldonado, Maldonado Law Group at maldonado-law-group.com, or you can call him at 619-342-1422. Again, that's 619-342-1422. Thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you very much.
For coming and hanging out in the Stash. And thank you, Stash Nation. We're going to be back here next Tuesday at 10 a.m., tracking down some cool local people, talking about some cool local stuff. And as a matter of fact, we have something that is cool technically, because next week we're going to be hanging out with Matthew Bergman. He is the owner of Chill Tonic, and it's cryotherapy. Gang, you are not going to want to miss. I promise we'll leave you better than how we found you. Secret Stash, Real Talk Radio. We'll be back next week. Thanks for hanging out.